Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from around the world. Welcome to Web3 Warriors, episode 103, featuring Ginger Potter, an amazing artist and painter and animator with a whole lot of work on the blockchain. Welcome, Ginger Potter. How you doing today?
Thank you for having me. Doing great. Just going through the heat wave.
Heat wave in
But other than
Lebanon,
that,
joining
yeah.
us from Lebanon.
Yeah.
You know, we haven't had too many guests from the Middle East region, so really happy to have you join the show and look forward to hearing a little bit about your perspectives from Lebanon and maybe how things are a little different for crypto out there.
Yeah. There's a lot of perspective about that over here. So I'm glad to. It's a pleasure to be on this podcast, and can't wait to dive into everything that
Awesome.
we're about to talk about. So
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining. This is Web3 Warriors. I'm your host, David Karoma. Go by Chrome in the metaverse. And as always, we're going to be looking at the creator economy on the blockchain and how Web3 and blockchain and crypto and peer-to-peer technology is really creating new opportunities for creators and artists. And today, for the theme of today's show, we're going to be revisiting a topic that we always like to talk about here, and that is art on the blockchain. And really specifically, how is the Web3 creator economy and how is the NFT community and really the industry that's around NFTs creating opportunities for artists, and how does it differ from more the traditional art collecting space? You know, for both art collectors and art creators, how is the NFT environment really shaking things up and creating opportunities for both? Now, we've often looked at kind of the idea that NFTs are removing the middle people in the space, really, and creating more genuine relationships between collectors and artists, and really being able to gamify the system almost, really, and make it kind of fun because you have such a clear line of sight towards your collectors and the people that support you, right? So once you have that data on chain, you can do things like, you know, randomly airdrop a little piece of art to all your collectors as a token of appreciation, or you can create a digital space in the metaverse where only your collectors can go and attend, and you can have kind of a closed exclusive group where no matter where they are in the world, they can all jump together in the metaverse and really congregate and connect that way. So these are just a few of the ways that NFTs are really changing the environment for artists and for the collectors like myself who like to buy art and support artists. And of course, being a digital medium also opens up a whole lot of new opportunities compared to the traditional art form, where you can have things more animated, you can have video, of course you can have music, as we've talked about on the show, even dance and performance really all being integrated in with the art and sold on the blockchain as an NFT, right? So even in the more traditional art space, you have the option to maybe take a piece of art that you started as a painter and bring it onto the digital platform, and then maybe animate it or add a little bit of something that you couldn't otherwise do in the more traditional art space, right? So definitely being a digital medium and being you know, a digital based platform and art form, the NFT space is really, I think, shaking up the entire art industry. And I think we've seen, whether it's Sobeys or Christie's or any of these other kind of more traditional galleries, taking notice and embracing NFTs in a big way. It's really exciting to see, and ultimately the sky is really the limit, right? So really excited to have GINGERPOTTER here, who's done some really exciting creative things with his art on the blockchain, speaking to the animation piece, speaking to really the trajectory of being a painter in the traditional sense and taking those skills onto the blockchain and into the metaverse. So thank you, GINGERPOTTER, Ralph, for joining. I'm really excited to get a little bit more about your backstory and be able to show your artwork to our listeners and our viewers. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Ginger. If you have, I would love to just think about, you know, where did you come from? What was the kind of background that brought you to the blockchain, and a little bit of your artist history maybe prior to jumping into NFTs before we really look at the projects that you've launched already on the Ethereum blockchain. So thank you for joining, Ginger. Can you share a little bit about your background, please?
Yeah, thank you for having me, David. For me, my background, I've been an artist most of my life since I was a kid. My mom tells me the story that when I was a kid, I showed her a drawing of Mickey Mouse. She thought I traced that drawing, but then she found out that no, I actually drew it. And basically from then on, since like I was a toddler, basically, I've been drawing all my life. So yeah, I've been an artist. I've been like, I do paintings, I do illustrations, I do animations. And basically around 6 years ago, around 2018, is when I decided to take my art seriously. And I decided that every Tuesday, I would post a new artwork. So every week there would be a new artwork that would be posted on my Instagram. And I've been doing that ever since. So like almost every week I've missed a few because it's been a long 6 years, but like it's been pretty consistent since. So like 6 years, every week dropping a new artwork and all of that. And 3 years in, around like end of 2021, I realized that although I grew my following from 600 followers to 40,000 followers, I realized that I was getting like freelance work here and there, but I wanted to figure out a way to make a living as an artist, to sell my work and all of that. Most of my work had become digital at that point. So lo and behold, NFTs comes into my world, and I try to figure out what it is. Just like anyone that starts with NFTs, they think, why would you do that? Can't I just screenshot and save the artwork? But then I eventually understood what it is, and yeah, I've been in the space for 3 years, I guess now, and been doing pretty well, and also kept expanding on Instagram. Just recently I hit 530,000 followers over there. On TikTok I'm close to 100K as well. On YouTube close to 20K. So yeah, I've been growing all around in Web2 and Web3. And yeah, that's, I guess, a brief intro of me.
That's amazing. So a true artist, and jumping into Web3 and the NFTs and having done kind of every day is almost like a Beeple type of story, right? Where you're creating a lot of amazing art and getting noticed on Instagram, and then being able to really take that art onto the blockchain. Can you speak a little bit to that kind of learning experience? I know I think back to when I first met you and we were working at the Dream Conduit and really just talking to artists like yourself who were like, this NFT thing, I'm an artist, how can I get into this space and understand the technology? So that's how I met you, and I loved your art. I was able to be an early collector, very grateful for that opportunity. But can you speak a little bit more to that, about the fact that you thought like, hey, like anyone can just right click save my art from Instagram? What's the difference between that and like pulling this onto the blockchain? Can you speak a little bit to that kind of education and how you really fell in love with NFTs?
Yeah. First of all, you guys were the first people I interacted with when it came to NFTs, the Dream Conduit, and and I think you were the first people that like helped me actually talk in spaces and on interviews. Like I would be I would be choking so bad on my words right now if it wasn't for those early Clubhouse rooms back then. But yeah, but when I started out, basically, I think the first thing I saw was Perrin. I don't know if you know Perrin. She does like
Perrin with the lines,
art. Yeah, 100%. That's where I saw that. Well, first of all, I would see like the Bored Apes and the like kitties, the kitties that they were like, I don't remember their name, but they were selling for like kitties. Thousands and thousands. yeah, I think those were it. Yeah, I think so. So they were selling for thousands of dollars, and then I see the Bored Apes and all of that. But I thought, so it's just like all of this commercial type of work. And I didn't even understand what PFP meant. I thought like there was someone drawing every Bored Ape, and then like they would sell it, and I didn't really understand the concept of generating art. But then I saw Perrin on Instagram, and her selling her work, and I saw, oh, like actual art can be sold through NFTs, and that's something that can be done. And then I started understanding what provenance meant, and basically that you eliminate the middleman of having someone authenticate the artwork by having the full authentication come with the artwork under it. So there I understood, oh, this is something that actually makes sense for digital artists, especially since most digital artists up to that point would be getting just recognition on social media if they get like enough attention, and hopefully from that attention they would get a job, a freelance job to work, and basically they would be making money by creating other people's visions as artworks or whatever, commercial work basically, not like a painter or like a physical artist, traditional artist, where they create their own artworks, their own paintings, and they can sell them through galleries and so on. So for me, when NFTs came to my attention at the very least, I started understanding, oh, this is the way how digital artists can finally do what painters and sculptors and any physical artist has been doing prior. And that made perfect sense for me to like go into it. So yeah, awesome. That's more or less I understood that.
Yeah, it's interesting how it had that specific appeal to the digital artists, I think, who really saw the value in it initially. A lot of the more traditional, like you say, sculptors and others. I've spoken to a sculptor friend who's still kind of trying to find her way in to really digitizing sculpture because it's a lot different, right? And then you have those who create maybe acrylic and more traditional kind of paints, but didn't really understand the concept of digitizing that physical into, you know, onto the blockchain, or even just onto the computer first and then minting it onto the blockchain as an actual digital file, despite it having its, you know, physical origination. But that's really cool that you kind of really adapted to it, and seems to have jumped into that with both feet in a really kind of exciting way. So that's awesome. I brought up your, I think it was your first collection, right, with the Watcher on Foundation. I'd love to hear just a little bit of thoughts behind, you know, the character, the Watcher. He's sitting in his really cool kind of stoic pose, just kind of thinking, and he's got a lot of different awesome kind of themes that go along with it. I was a big fan of the Watcher Tries His Luck. Was the first one I collected, and I was lucky enough to be able to sell it much later at in a very unexpected way. But I was it's really awesome to see, you know, how your NFTs have been really growing in demand, and seen some pretty impressive secondary market sales as well. But tell us a little bit about the Watcher and what we're looking at here.
Yeah, I was working in the background to sell that one for you. But yeah, basically you bought it for 0.08. Yeah. And then you sold it on secondary for 1.5, so that's pretty cool.
That's cool.
And yeah, basically that collection, like I said, I saw the Bored Apes and I was like, every one of them is drawn by someone. Why don't I do my own PFP project in some way? So basically I started drawing them, and when I hit like 21, I was like, oh, this doesn't make sense, because those people that were doing the Bored Apes, like, I'm sure they were doing something else, because they couldn't have drawn 10,000 on their own. So like I started, basically I wanted to draw, like have this character, this like my type of PFP, but something that resonates with me and who I am. So I didn't really like go into like the 3/4 position and all of that. I wanted someone that is looking at the viewer and the viewer looking back at them. I always like when the viewer feels they are inside the artwork and all of that. They are involved in the artwork in that way. Mm-hmm. So I created the character. I already use this character in all of my other artworks. Basically, this character is like a blank page that anyone can inhabit and leave their trace on. And basically, I use them in this pose. As the collection, I started it out as someone that is still an introvert, but was very introverted at the time, very difficult to speak, very difficult to like interact with people around them and all of that. This character is just sitting in this very stoic position and just staring and looking at the world around him, and each atmosphere with the world around him changing with each artwork. So like the atmospheres change, and each atmosphere is related to a certain topic that I want to talk about. So some of the backgrounds are related to certain crises that were happening here in Lebanon, like the electricity crisis. There's one called, I believe, the Watcher
has no power.
Has no power. Yeah, exactly. So basically, that's the crisis here in Lebanon. Most people didn't have electricity. Now most of the country is on solar energy, because the government doesn't have the ability to like actually give 24/7 electricity. So that's solved because we solved it on our own. Other than that, there was also the gas crisis at the time, because Lebanon was going through a full-on crisis and revolution at the time. So like at some point, people would wait like 7 hours at a gas station to try to fill up their tank. So there were like huge lines of cars and all of that. So that's another one of the artworks. Some are more fun, and like the one that you bought, the casino one, I had just gone to the Lebanese casino over there, over here, around that time. And basically I just noticed how a lot of life is just luck, and a lot of it is about it's kind of a gamble, like choosing making a certain choice, and making like trying to choose what you want to do with your life and all of that. So it came from that idea, from that concept, and I drew that artwork based on that, with all of the dice in the background and all of that. Yeah, some of them are more fun. Some of them are based on like pop culture characters and all of that. And yeah, just basically having fun with most of them. I think most of them do have like a deeper meaning to them too. So one of them is like he has a lot of eyes staring at him. It's based on being very self-conscious. One is wrapped around in like red wires, and that's because I felt stuck in the country at the time because it was very difficult to get out and to like find a way forward. And NFTs helped me like find that way forward, by the way. So yeah, it basically showcases my playful side as well as my like more life experiences. So yeah,
I
that's
love
more or
it.
less the concept of the collection. So yeah.
Thank you. No, that's a great. It has so many different vibes. It's really cool. I like.
Yeah.
If I had to choose, definitely my top one is the one I ended up grabbing. Was Tries His Luck, and it's interesting because I'm not a gambler at all, but to me it just said abundance. You know, it just said like, you know, you don't succeed in anything until you actually try, right? And so luck is a part of it, but also making that initiative to try is a big part of it as well. And so that's what I really vibed with it for. But it was very cool, and it was able to help me buy a car later, so that was super cool too. But I was also looking at this. Yeah, cool. You know, it's awesome when it works out that way. You know, I had no expectations. I just kind of listed it because I was like, hey, if anyone wants this amazing piece of art, this is what they're gonna have to pay me for it. And sure enough, someone saw the value in it and said it was worth that value. So that was really cool and really helpful. I really love the plays a game one as well. Definitely, if I had to choose a new one, I would say that gaming one is really cool. The way you've worked in all the different controllers and the different kind of video games in his lap and the Pokeballs. It's really cool. So I love how it's just different.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorites too.
It's
like
beautiful.
The nostalgia from the 90s gaming era. That's mostly it.
Yeah, I'm always here for the gaming nostalgia for sure. But I love it. So just different kind of sides of your character, sides of your story, your actual lived experiences. So I would definitely recommend everyone to go check out the Watcher 21 collection on the Foundation Network or Foundation platform. So I am curious. I noticed you have launched a few NFTs on Super Rare. You've got Foundation. You got another one on Oasis X, which I hadn't actually heard of. So I'm going to ask you a little bit about that as well. But I'm curious, when it comes to these different platforms and different kind of marketplaces, do you have a favorite, or how do you kind of navigate the different NFT marketplaces as an artist?
It's a difficult thing to navigate that I'm still figuring out myself. And I'm somewhat selective on where I put my work because I feel like you have to be at a certain extent. But then again, like a lot of people like put out a lot of work on different places and try. And the thing is, like, I feel if you don't try, you can't really find out. So it's very like it's a very like difficult balancing act of trying to figure out where to go and to navigate your trajectory through the space. So basically, Foundation, I feel, is one of the better platforms. So I started out on OpenSea when I started in the space, which I believe everyone did because of the lazy minting, especially because most people didn't really have the gas fee to pay for every time they want to create a new artwork on Foundation of that. So the lazy minting helped out a lot, and although a lot of people would be against OpenSea for all of their issues and all of that, I didn't mind those issues because they helped me start in this space. But eventually they decided to ban people from certain countries, and unfortunately I was in one of those countries.
Dang.
So I had to I had to remint everything on Foundation because that was the second choice. But now thinking back at it, Foundation seemed like the more sensible choice because it's more art oriented and more art focused, and I feel like they're very helpful in what they do right now with like Rob, who's at the head of curation, I believe, on Foundation. They try to help out artists much more open. OpenSea feels like you're talking with a concrete wall most of the time. But on Foundation, I feel yeah. But on Foundation, I feel like they are really trying. They have done like a few things I feel may be questionable, but when it comes to, but in general, I feel like they are a haven for a lot of artists in this space. But when it comes to Super Rare, I would say that Super Rare is the, um, how do I say it? I guess it's the cream of the crop. I don't know if that's the right saying, but it's like the high end platform for the big collectors and the big artists to be in the space. Like a lot of platforms have tried to take that from Super Rare, and some I think are starting to do that. But for now, I feel like having your work on Super Rare will get you really in front of the eyes of the big collectors than any other platform there is right now. And that's why I feel like it's a good platform for that. They have a good base of collectors on there that look frequently on their website for new artworks and all of that. So that's something that I feel is pretty beneficial on there. So I was able to like get access to Super Rare by Super Rare Casey, one of their former curators. He's no longer with them now. But yeah, ever since then, last year I dropped my first collection on there, a 10-piece animation collection, and did very well. It sold out within a week. And yeah, it basically got on the main page of Super Rare throughout that week, and it got me to be the second most lucrative artist of that week, right behind Xcopy on Super Rare, which is insane.
Nice.
And and yeah, basically, Super Rare, I feel like it still has that appeal of people wanting to be on there so they can be seen by the bigger players in the space and all of that. Although Foundation has like the big collectors collecting there, but I feel on Super Rare it's more curated in some ways. So yeah, right now I have a new collection that I put out on Super Rare as well. It's another 10-piece animation collection, and it's like a parallel to the last year's collection, where that one you would go deep into like the anxiety that comes with like everything going so fast in the future, and like technology, how we're delving into the digital world more and more, and what it means for us as people. And this one is the opposite of that, of zooming out and trying to figure out what happiness might mean for us as people in the modern age right now, and basically focusing on the present moment and trying to enjoy the small moments that surround you and all of that. So that collection is out now on Super Rare. It's been out for like 2 or 3 weeks, I believe. And yeah,
Awesome.
that's more or less when it comes to the platforms. So yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for that breakdown. And now that you mention it, I didn't notice that contrast. Yeah, so you have kind of your latest drop is a lot of like wellness, a lot of being in touch with nature, you know, making time for mental health. Your initial collection was a lot of like digital worlds taking over. We're all getting sucked into the metaverse kind of vibes. So it's a very cool kind of contrast. So congratulations on those drops. And definitely what you're saying as far as Super Rare kind of being your go-to market for the quote unquote high-end art, or high price art more specifically, right? I don't know what their minimum is. I feel like it's 0.5, might be 0.2. But I think they have a pretty high.
Some sell for like 0.01 and all of that.
Okay, they still do have some at that rate?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like they used to have like a minimum that they put in, but maybe they just took that out.
Oh. Yeah, they should, because
like why cut ourselves out, right?
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's interesting though. No, definitely a cool corner of the NFT market space, and they've been around since I believe 2020 or even 2019. So they were one of like the first to really cater to kind of the quote unquote high end, high value, high dollar collectors, right? And an Xcopy is just insane how someone like an Xcopy can demand so much you know, on the blockchain, right? And it goes to say goes to speak, I think, about the culture, and whether it's meme culture. In Xcopy's case, it's like real glitch art that, you know, he's got his trajectory, he's got his provenance on the blockchain going back however many years, one of the first to really kind of do it big in the glitch art space. So yeah, it's just really cool to see how curating and creating this kind of culture really around your art, you know, almost like a subculture, can yield a lot of benefits, and obviously it takes a lot of time as well to kind of put in that time and create that kind of community foundation and that network, right? Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool, very cool. So I do have to ask, it sounds like you're pretty partial to Ethereum, being on these marketplaces. Are you an ETH maxi? Have you been exploring, Tezos and Solana or any of these other blockchain options? Now you got Bitcoin, people trying to mint ordinals and inscribe on Bitcoin. Have you been looking at any other blockchains?
So for me, like ETH has been king, yes, but I don't consider myself a maxi. I've started out on ETH and I've been doing well on ETH. So, and the thing is, like, my drops are very limited. So like, I don't drop I prepare a full collection and then I drop it rather than having something to drop every week or something like that. So I don't really have much artworks to experiment with, quote unquote. But the thing is, like, I have looked into other blockchains. I'm not against trying out different blockchains. Solana, I'm interested to doing something there, as well as ordinals. I've been in talks with a lot of people to try to understand how to do that as well. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in going there. For Tezos, I don't know, like, I've been interested, but at the same time, I feel like the majority of the space doesn't really take Tezos too seriously, and I'm not really sure. Like, I like the idea and everything, but I haven't understood the appeal. Like, I see Solana as something that is more appealing to me if I want to go that route than Tezos. I don't know, like, for me, I still don't really see the appeal there for Tezos. But yeah, ordinals and Solana are definitely something I'm looking into to try out soon, hopefully. So yeah, there's also Zora. People have told me about it. I might do something there.
Zora is still kind of Ethereum, I believe, or they do have their own, but most people on Zora, from what I've gathered, are doing like Base, or they're doing even Ethereum just on Zora, but they do have their own chain as well. But yeah, it's an interesting one, and I've been collecting more and more Base NFTs over there, which is cool. Yeah, it's interesting seeing what Coinbase is doing with that coin. But yeah, Zora is a cool one to check out for sure. And I do want to ask, what's the Oasis X? How did you come across there, and what's their pitch?
So Oasis was basically the main NFT marketplace here in the Middle East, and I was one of their curators. I was their curator, actually.
Okay.
So yeah, and I had some artworks up on that platform, and they sold and they did well. I had like an edition drop as well. One of my first edition drops. It sold out within 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Was it 50 editions, I think, or something like that? So yeah, that did pretty well. And they're one of the marketplaces here in the Middle East that are trying to basically, the thing is, like, we can jump into this larger conversation of a lot of Middle Eastern artists feeling left out of the bigger picture in the NFT space. So there are marketplaces that are trying to help these artists to reach that same level of success that other big artists from the Western world have found. But yeah, that's for them. That's for the platform there. But yeah, the thing is, I feel like a lot of people here in the region have that struggle and feel like they are sometimes not really looked into as much as other Western countries are looked into when it comes to the NFT space and art and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Okay, so they're really catering to the Middle Eastern kind of region when it comes to the NFT market. And what is it like in Lebanon? So you mentioned, having had OpenSea essentially blacklist your collection because it was based in Lebanon, which is awful and very against the whole.
Not just
it
my
kind
collection.
They just took it off. They just removed access.
Yeah, the whole account. completely blacklisted. My whole
Sheesh.
wallet cannot access OpenSea anymore.
That's so
So yeah.
wild. That's so wild. It just like flies in the face of the decentralization ethos, right? It's just like clearly
Yeah.
it wasn't that decentralized if they could just shut down everything I had on here. So could you just
Yeah.
maybe walk us through that process of having to take everything over to Foundation? I know that was a little bit of a pain. You're essentially reminting the art, right? And making sure that all of the collectors who had bought it on OpenSea, you know, have it reflected on Foundation. Was that very difficult, or what was that like for you?
It was pretty time consuming, I guess, and it was a bit heartbreaking because like I wasted a lot of ETH just doing that. But yeah, basically I
Jesus.
reminted, yeah, I reminted everything because the thing is like my collectors don't deserve having them. But that's the whole thing, like the whole ban thing didn't make any sense. Okay, ban me as the artist, but the artworks that were bought by collectors all over the world, like where was, what do they have to do with that? And the thing is, like, it's not like I entered the space and there was a ban already in place on Lebanon from OpenSea at the time. I entered the space, I created my first collection and everything. There was no need for VPN, nothing at all. I was just using the website normally. And then all of a sudden, people needed VPNs to enter OpenSea. Why? We still don't understand why. Because they would talk about like sanctions, but the thing is, the only sanction that is implemented on Lebanon currently is something called the Caesar Act, which basically sanctions specific Lebanese personnel that were helping the Syrian regime. So not the country as a whole.
Right.
So I'm still trying to figure out what OpenSea was referring to when they decided to ban us as a whole country. So yeah, basically, I had my collection out, and then we started needing VPNs to basically access our collections and all of that. So we started using that because my work was already there and I was already selling there. But eventually, when they realized that people are using VPNs, they would, I don't know how they would like know that we're from a certain country, and they would just ban the account outright in some way. So yeah, basically the wallet would be blacklisted and you can't really use the website anymore. So that happened to me around, I remember it was August 4th, the second anniversary of the Beirut explosion. It was the same day as when I got banned on OpenSea as well. So yeah, I took all of the artworks, I reminted them on Foundation, airdropped them to their collectors. I believe one of the ones that were reminted was the one that you bought as well, and I sent it to you. And yeah, ever since then, I didn't look back. Yeah, it's very shitty what they did. I think in the long run, it hurt them more than it hurt anyone. Other platforms aren't doing these types of bans. I don't know why they felt compelled to do that. But yeah, I feel like it's just discriminatory, if anything, and it doesn't really make sense. And yeah.
It's totally discriminatory. It also, again, goes against kind of the ethos of decentralization, because ultimately all OpenSea is an aggregator of things that are on chain. So when they start talking about, you know, blacklisting or blocking you from OpenSea, as you like stated, you're not really blocking you from anything, except in this case, because you used their system to mint your NFTs, it did complicate your collection more. But if, you know, had used like a Manifold or minted it pretty much anywhere else, they really couldn't have done anything but block your user from going there. But definitely to your point about the lazy minting and the fact that that was such a great opportunity for those who don't want to like cover the gas fees up front. Yeah, there were a lot of people who had lazy minted like that. And if you ended up, you know, having your jurisdiction blacklisted for whatever odd reason, then that would hurt you for sure. So thanks for sharing that. That's a very interesting experience. And yeah, you know, it's important to note that, you know, sometimes centralization still pops its ugly head up in this NFT space, and there is always some level of centralization. It is always kind of a balance, right? So I think that's a great learning lesson, a great point, and a great advantage of using your own custom contract and using, you know, whether it's a Manifold or something like I believe Foundation allows you to have real ownership over the NFTs that you mint. You can go through Manifold and everything can be reflected on Foundation. So definitely just an example of why it is helpful to mint your own NFTs if possible. But also costlier. So something to consider. So I am also
Yeah,
walking around in your cool art gallery in the metaverse, over in the spatial metaverse. We love spatial over here. I just wanted to get a thought around, the use case of showing your art in the metaverse. What are your thoughts on it? How important do you think it is as an artist in the NFT space to have a gallery like this where people can just drop in with their avatars and run around and see your art, click on your art, go through to the NFT and the marketplace? Just how important do you think that is, and how have you been using it?
Yeah, basically, I feel like having everything in the same space where you can see it displayed, like even if it's virtually, it will grab the attention much more, and you can see everything, like I said, in one place with all of the info to take you to all of the different marketplaces and all of that. So yeah, I've been exhibiting my work through spatial. I think I have like another spatial. I don't know if that's the one you're in right now, but in collaboration with Venus Ventures as well. They did a gallery for me for my latest collection as well. And a lot of collectors would tell me that they would be interested to see my work, like how it would look like displayed, even if it is virtual. So instead of just seeing it on your phone, like on the screen, plastered right there, you would see it in a space, how it would look like. So it will give you an idea, even like if it's not a very accurate idea, but it will still give you an idea on how it might look in an actual physical space. So yeah, I feel like it's very important to have these types of galleries for people to visit them. I've also been thinking about like maybe like doing monthly exhibitions of my work in my virtual galleries, and having my Instagram followers to come and hang around with me over there, and they can ask me questions about my artworks and all of that. So there's a lot of great things that can come from that. And I think it's still at the very early beginnings of what can be done in the virtual space and with virtual galleries and all of that. And I'm sure in the future, there's going to be so many use case on amazing things that can be done through the space. So yeah, I'm just like trying few things, and it's pretty cool to have your own space in the virtual space that showcases your work, and I quite enjoy it. So yeah.
No doubt, 100%. Have you hosted any like events in there yet? Like what you were just talking about with bringing your Instagram followers in the air into the space would be a really cool opportunity for potentially onboarding, right? Like not being too in your face, like, oh, you should really try NFTs, but just showing like, this is all my art. And if you click on them, you'll see the NFT and you'll be able to, if you like, purchase with crypto. But it is a kind of cool, easy onboarding conversation, right?
Yeah, I haven't hosted yet. I haven't really hosted like spaces and stuff like that for a while. Just been very like focused on other things right now. But I have thought about like getting closer to my community and to my followers and all of that through these spaces where we can just hang out and like ask, and they can ask me anything, and they can hear my voice basically explaining everything, which I feel like it gets people closer than just through text or posts or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely something that I'm looking into. We'll see if it would be something that I can do on a regular basis or not. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, more personal approach makes it more intimate, definitely. So I know we missed each other in New York, which is very unfortunate. I wish I was able to connect with you out there. I didn't actually realize you were there until like the last day I was there. I was like, dang it. But that was awesome that you got to make it out there. I believe your art was shown at Times Square, was it? Or definitely shown in one of the spaces. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And then, any other IRL kind of NFT Web3 events you've been at, and how important you think it is to really get out in the community and meet people in person. But yeah, I'd love to hear how NFT.NYC went for you.
Well, that's the thing, David. Like when I started in the space, when I was that gibbering, nonsensical, I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, you were fine.
Words
you were fine.
Yeah, at the time, but I remember you were after I said my first thing I ever said in a clubhouse room, you were the one that was trying to make sense of what I was saying, and you asked me, did you mean this when you said that and all of that? Because I was just just rambling about stuff, different words and all of that. And I never thought at that time, when I started doing what I did at the time, that I would end up as a person coming from a tiny country that was going through like like it's worst crisis in years, and basically where you felt like where I felt all of my prospects for the future are going to be limited. I have nowhere else to go. Like most salaries for someone that has a master's degree in my field were offering like $200 a month, stuff like that. So it was a ridiculous situation to be in and a very hopeless situation to be in. So and at that time, how would I ever that my work just in 2 years time, because last year as well, it would be featured on one of the most iconic screens in the world in Times Square in New York, which it's like a dream come true that I never imagined could happen in in a short time, especially in my age where I'm still relatively young. And to have it twice happen, two times back to back, 2 times, one every year back to back, it's just like that's the cherry on top of the cake. And yeah, like it's an amazing experience. I remember the first time last year when I went there. The thing is, my plane landed the same night as when the artworks were going to be showcased on Times Square. So I literally had like a few hours to get from my plane, if the plane didn't run late, and to get to my hotel, check in, and then go straight to Times Square. So within like a few hours, the plane didn't run late. From JFK to Manhattan, it took an hour's ride. And when I got there, there was an issue with the hotel because, like I said, there was like issues here. There was a banking crisis where banks became illiquid. So people didn't really use credit cards here in my country. So I went to New York without really a credit card. So when I got to the hotel, I needed a credit card to get into my room. So I couldn't do that. I waited like for an hour to figure out what to do. A friend came and helped me out eventually. And after that, walked to Times Square. And it was the first time I would actually look around and, oh, sorry, a door slammed. And I was walking around Times Square and realizing I'm walking into where, in the same settings that I've seen in movies throughout my whole life. For the very first time, I'm walking through that. And it was already nighttime. So you can imagine the lights of New York basically all around me. And we walked to it. It was like a 10-minute walk. As soon as I got to Times Square, I had like a paper with the artwork printed on it that was going to be showcased on the screen. So as soon as I got there, literally the second I got there, I turn around and I see my artwork on the big screen, and I scream out, "That's my artwork!" So yeah, it's like a movie moment. And the people around me were like, "That's your artwork?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's my artwork." And yeah,
that's amazing, man.
It was right there.
That's an awesome story.
Like I took a picture of it with like the American flag right behind me. So,
there you go.
So yeah, it was a pretty cool situation, and I recreated it a few months ago when I went back to NFT NYC. But this time around, it was so rainy that I hated it so much. The year before, it was like summer. This year,
it was beautiful
so
last year. Yeah, this year was horrible, man. That rain was like a monsoon. It was cold. Even when it wasn't raining, it was all windy and cold. It was not the greatest weather-wise, but I still managed to have a pretty good time out there, and that's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that story. That's super cool. Just arriving at Times Square and seeing your art plastered on the big screens is, I can imagine that must have been quite the feeling, you know, especially having come from Lebanon where you weren't sure, you know, just 2-3 years ago, you know, where your art was going to lead you, what kind of opportunities you had available to you because of the Lebanese situation. So going back to that point, you know, can you speak to what is it like for you as someone who's bringing in revenue on the blockchain to basically turn that revenue into, you know, usable currency within Lebanon? What are the regulations like? What's the situation like there for crypto in general? And then how is that impacting you specifically?
So when I entered the space back in 2021, like I said, our bank system, the whole bank system collapsed, and banks were illiquid. So like there was you couldn't like take out dollars. Like there would be a very small limit of how much dollars from your bank accounts you can take out. So so at the same time, when you wanted to like pay for something outside with your credit card, you had a limit of $50. You couldn't buy something from outside of the country for more than $50. So me, I wanted to buy cryptocurrency ETH so I can pay the gas fees to actually activate my account on OpenSea at the time. So at the time, luckily, it was before the gas fees went up to like $400 and all of that. So I just needed like around $30 worth of ETH to be able to activate my account on OpenSea. So I go, I fill up the card with like $50, and I go to I download Binance and everything to go and buy ETH. So I put in all of my credentials, I do everything. I'm about to buy the Ethereum, and then a message pops up from Binance telling me you can't do this transaction. You should check with your bank if you have money in the credit card or not. So I just filled it, so I'm not sure what happened. If I like put it, if maybe the app was a scam or something, I don't know. But no, it was actually Binance. So I go and call my bank and tell them what's going on, why didn't the transaction go through? And then the person on the telephone tells me, and mind you, this is after like months of trying to figure out what to do with my life, of having people offer me for like full-time 9-to-5 jobs with no paid overtime and all of that, offer me $200 a month by the end of it. So like pretty shitty situation where you feel like there's no way to actually take your life with other than this situation. So when I call the bank, I tell them what's going on. They tell me, you tried to buy some crypto, right? I tell them yes. They tell me, well, the Minister of Finance decided that cryptocurrency is no longer allowed in the country.
Oh man. Sheesh.
And it was a pretty recent decision, apparently, I guess, with like the crisis and all of that. So they make sure that all of our dollars stay in the country. So in that moment, I just lost it. I started screaming at the phone, telling them to fuck. I don't know if I can curse on this.
You're good. You're good.
On this yeah, but to fuck off because they're basically ruining any chance of someone that is ambitious or anyone really,
Right.
to
Stifling innovation.
To make a life. Yeah, to innovate, to basically they're forcing us all to be late at the party as usual. So for me, at that point, I was trying to figure out what to do, what can I do, and all of that. And it took like months to figure it out. And eventually I found the black market here in Lebanon where they sell crypto. And I found, and it's like,
hey,
it's funny.
You gotta do what you gotta do, right?
yeah, because eventually I had to like go with my friend at night and basically park in like a dark alley where we met someone else that gave us crypto. And it felt like a drug deal basically, but it was just a few presses of a few buttons.
That's wild.
Like, yeah,
man.
I gave them like 50. Yeah, I gave them $50. They gave me the crypto, and basically I created my first OpenSea account over there. After that, I uploaded some artworks that didn't, very disjointed artworks that didn't really make sense. There wasn't really a collection. I was just putting them out thinking that, oh, people are selling for millions of dollars. Bored apes are, these simple apes are being sold for that much, thinking that the apes were selling because of their artistic value. So I'm sure I'll sell for much more, not really knowing what I was talking about. So I put up like some artworks for 5 ETH, I think, or something like that. And basically, didn't really know I had marketed. I thought you just put it on the website on OpenSea and it will sell, but that didn't happen. And basically after that, I thought, oh, it's just another failure. I need to figure out something else to do. So after that, I tried spending a few months trying to figure out what I needed to do. And I decided that I wanted to do like my first solo exhibition. I did my first solo exhibition right here in front of the house on a very rustic street. It was a beautiful street. Around 300 people showed up.
Oh, wow.
The exhibition sold out and all of that, and brought some confidence back into my work. And after that, I wanted to like get my work be featured in articles around the country, around the Middle East and all of that. So I asked an artist friend of mine, I asked him, how did you get your work in articles? Because he had his work show up in a lot of articles. He told me he found people that write articles, journalists and all of that on a little app called Clubhouse. So I downloaded Clubhouse, and I was looking for journalists basically, but then eventually I started seeing these NFT rooms, and one of them was the Dream Conduit room. And then I go in and I start listening, and I start understanding, oh, I need to market my work. I need to do this and I need to do that. So I burned all of the NFTs that I created at first. And then I started from scratch, basically having a full concept of what I wanted to do. And that's where the Watcher collection came in. That's where I started going into your space, your rooms, and talking with you and taking your advice and all of that. And eventually, yeah, made my first sale in one of those rooms, the Fiona Ryder room, the show and tell rooms that you used to do.
Yeah, I remember those.
And yeah, that's Yeah,
Uh,
and basically it's all yeah, that's where it really started, basically selling my art and getting out of the situation here in the country. But things have gotten better here in Lebanon. There's uh, it's not it's people are embracing crypto much more. Galleries are interested to have NFTs featured in their exhibitions and all of that. And there
nice.
are like where you exchange money. I don't know what's it called in English.
Exchange?
The Yeah, an exchange, basically. There are actual exchanges now where you can go and exchange cryptocurrency.
Ah,
So
beautiful.
the banks still don't allow you to buy with their credit card
Mm,
cryptocurrency, but it's much less, it's not as bad as it was back then. They weren't
okay.
strict, or they wouldn't like come down on you like doing drugs or anything, but it was very difficult to get into it. Now it's much easier. So yeah.
Okay. So the finance minister is easing up a little bit. Still don't want the banks
I
touching it,
met with
but
him eventually. I met with the Minister of Economy, and he's interested to do a creator economy here in the country. And I'm like, sure,
there you
but you have to
go.
like let banks use, yeah, let you use cryptocurrency in the country.
Look at
So
you
yeah, that's what we're
rubbing
working on.
shoulders with the minister now, talking about the value of the blockchain, creator economy. You're just
Yeah.
right at the front edge for Lebanon, pushing the technology forward. That's what's up. So, what do you think about the
Yeah.
whole kind of global narrative or the global reality that is the NFT and crypto space? Like you just mentioned, someone from Lebanon who is facing difficulties managed through some, random connection to be able to get a little bit of crypto because you couldn't get it because your banks wouldn't let you buy it, and from that, eventually minting NFTs, eventually making sales, bringing in revenue, then going off to New York, seeing your art at Times Square, and now you're here with your second drop on Super Rare. Very exciting, and really kind of goes to show just how small I think the Web3 community is and the NFT community is, and how I don't think it really matters where you are on this planet. If you tap in with the right people, and you find yourself collectors, you can really make a way for yourself. How important do you think that kind of global connection is? And do your collectors, for example, tend to come from around the world, or are they very kind of, a lot of them are concentrated to your local region?
Yeah, so basically, I feel like through the NFT space and through the opportunities that were presented through the space of taking of my work being purchased globally and being seen on an international stage in the light of something that you can buy, it let me prove to the collector base here in my country that my work is something that people value and can buy and do buy. And people can make money off of my work. So, because before that, a lot of collectors and galleries and all of that didn't really take my work too seriously because it was very different than the general wave of art here in the country. And it's a very sad thing because I feel like there are a lot of amazing artists here in the country that aren't seen in the same light as the traditional physical artists here in the country. And I'm talking like also of physical artists of my generation. They're not taken as seriously as like some very there's like a general vibe of what people like to buy here, and a lot of it isn't what I do or a lot of my colleagues do. So for me, it was just a matter of trying to find a niche for myself outside of Lebanon because I've been rejected here multiple times before I sold anything in NFTs and all of that. Also, my paintings, like I have a painting right here. A lot of people told me it's too dark or whatever, but now like people just just love it and want to buy it. It's too expensive for them to buy.
Of course. Funny
But
how that goes, hey?
yeah, funny how that goes. But yeah, basically through this space, I was able to have collectors all around the world. Also, I've able to have friends all around the world. It's an amazing blessing to be able to say that you have friends in any country that you go to that you can talk to and hang out with, and like they can show you around and all of that. And I can genuinely say that. So basically that's something, and it helped me out a lot to like be able to talk in spaces, just like I was saying, like interviews and going on TV and all of that. 3 years ago, I would have never imagined I would have any courage to be able to do that, because I was a very introverted person that didn't really like to talk in public. But now it just comes naturally to me because of the spaces and everything that I did in the space. But going back to the artworks, after I sold my first few NFTs and all of that, then the articles started showing up here in the country talking about me. Oh, first NFT artist to sell out his collection from Lebanon. Then first NFT artist doing that and that and that. And basically galleries started coming to me, curious about what NFTs are, interested to exhibit my work. I've exhibited in a few galleries since. Some of those galleries had rejected me literally a year prior than when they eventually exhibited me. And at this point, in July, my work will be featured in the first ever NFT gallery in Lebanon, which opened a few months ago.
Let's
And
go.
basically, so it's a very good gallery too. Like, they have very nice screens. The owner is someone that is in the crypto space and understands the scene. He has artworks that he's bought from old 70s digital art. That's how into it he is. So yeah, someone that really understands the space and digital art and all of that. They opened the gallery, and hopefully that's going to showcase how digital art can be on the same level as any painting in the country or outside the country. So yeah.
Wow, amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's such a key kind of trajectory, and that story of kind of ignore it in your own home, and then the value of your art seen, by people around the world, and then your people from your actual country then seeing your value after you've been selling it on the blockchain, and seeing others from around the world seeing your value. And I think that's a common narrative, right, as far as not really being maybe recognized or respected at that level where you're from. And I think that's a common thing, because people know you as whoever you might seem to be, in the day-to-day. They're not going to necessarily put you up on a pedestal and say, oh, your art is amazing, you're doing really great, until they see other people doing that, and then they're like, oh wow, you've got all this recognition around the world. And that's awesome that NFTs made that possible for you. And I'm really excited about that Lebanon gallery. That sounds like a really, really cool use case. I'm actually looking at doing something like that up here in Winnipeg, where I'm from. And to your other point about just being able to say you have connections or actual genuine friendships in different countries, that is huge. I think that's such a big part of Web3. I had a conversation with some of my friends from New York shortly after visiting just the most recent time for NFT.NYC. Two of them are from New York. Shout out to Liana from Southeast Asia. So I know, and myself from Canada, and we were all just connecting and talking about our experiences in New York, and then I've got friends down in Miami and just all over. Yourself in Lebanon, Jagar in India, friends in different countries in Africa who are all making an impact in this space in Web3, and really creating amazing art, and really creating an opportunity for themselves and for their communities by extension, just like people are seeing you make a way for yourself in the NFT space, and they're going to take it, right? And now you just said that crypto's getting more popular there. You've got an NFT gallery being started up in Lebanon now. So you were at the beginning of that wave that is now taking on, right? And I don't think anyone wants to stop it. You were just saying the minister himself is like, oh yeah, we need to talk about the creator economy and really, tap into this innovation, right? So it's a huge opportunity. And I think that everyone who genuinely wants art to win, who wants the creator economy to continue to grow in the right direction, knows that this innovation, this crypto, this peer-to-peer functionality through NFTs is a meaningful wave for the future. So really, really impactful story that you just shared there, coming from Lebanon and coming from kind of that history that you've been able to experience. So really, really awesome. I am curious, what are you most excited about for the rest of this year? What do you have going on around the corner? Obviously, your awesome drop on Super Rare, just mentioned being shown at a NFT gallery in Lebanon. So lots on the go. What are you kind of most excited about right now in 2024?
There's a lot of things happening right now. I might be going to Venice. That's still in talks, to create like an artwork, a live drawing session basically over there. I'm also in talks of exhibiting something in the UK, so that's still in talks. Hopefully that works out as well. There's like a big exhibition we might do here in Lebanon, where it will be like a interactive space as well as art projected on walls. That's also in the talking stages. So there's a lot of that. as well as like having my work exhibited in different galleries around the country and around the world as well. And I'm also working on like Web2 stuff, so trying to expand. Like I'm finishing up my website right now and trying to expand into selling merchandise and prints and all of that. So I'm working on
Nice.
a few things.
And those
They look
gallery
pretty cool. So
showcases, sorry, are those physical and digital, the gallery showcases, or are they all going to be kind of digital screens?
So yeah, on screens basically when it comes to digital, but I am displaying my physical paintings, my oil paintings as well
Nice.
in some galleries. So yeah, it's a mix of both because at the end of the day, I'm not just an NFT artist, I'm an artist in general. Like
100%.
that prefix of NFT, I feel like will eventually die out, and any NFT artist will be just considered just another artist or a digital artist at the very least. But things, yeah, I do paintings, I do digital art, I do some sculpting as well sometimes. So yeah, it's just a mixed bag of things I do. So
That's
so yeah,
amazing. Yeah.
a lot of yeah, a lot of fun things in the works. Hopefully they come to fruition, and yeah, we'll make sure to take some pictures and send them your way.
Yeah,
if they
please
do.
do.
So,
Please do.
yeah.
Do you think that having had all this success now on the blockchain is bringing renewed value to your originals, your oil paintings? And obviously those are all one-of-ones, right? Physical pieces. And have you looked at the potential to combine these physical pieces that you have prior to NFTs with maybe a digital counterpiece, somehow make a phygital kind of collection? Or are you definitely looking at kind of selling those at a higher tier in person at a more kind of traditional gallery setting?
I definitely have thought about mixing between both. I have like a concept, everything ready in mind. But the thing is, when it comes to paintings, they're so detailed what I do that like my biggest painting took me like up to 7 months to finish.
That's
so
awesome.
it's a difficulty.
That's why you charge high dollars.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah, like when I wanted to, but that's the thing. Like my digitals would take me like around a week to do. These would take the oil paintings would take me like 7 months. So I'm struggling a bit to like figure out how to have like I wanted to do like a collection of 10 paintings that are connected to 10 NFTs at the same time. So like 700 months is not doable. So I need to figure out a way to do like 10 paintings in much less time. And with everything that's going on around me, like, yeah, time is just passing by so fast. So it's difficult, but it is something that I'm working on. And hopefully, if I find the right combination of everything I want to do, I'm able to do it soon. And yeah, basically, I feel like it would be a good way to ease in a lot of traditional art collectors into the NFT space through a digital collection that I might create. So yeah, especially here in the country. So yeah.
That's awesome. I'm really inspired by everything you've shared today, and I really love the idea that Lebanon, having gone through that kind of dark period right when you were starting to get into NFTs, has now come to this place where they're slowly adopting crypto, and you've been part of that wave, kind of pushing the country in that direction, and from an art perspective, really being a real good voice for artists in your country, right? And Web3 artists more broadly as well. And to your point about that prefix, you know, I think all artists are artists, you know, if you want to call yourself NFT artist, digital artist, whatever the case might be. I believe that if you have the ability even to create, even if you're using AI, and that's a whole other discussion, but I think there are those who use it in an actual creative way and genuinely use it as a tool, and even that is its own valid version of art, right? So everyone's kind of, it's very subjective, and I think that art has become even more subjective probably in these last 1 or 2 years compared to what it was prior to that. And I think all of the more snobby kind of like, oh, I know what real art is, and you know, all those guys over there doing digital art, you know, they used to say the same thing about people using Photoshop, right? They discredited the artistic skill that's required. So I think you're on the wave, and I'm really impressed and inspired by what you're doing in Lebanon, and I really look forward to seeing that gallery and anything else you can share with us. Do you have any other final words before we wrap up here?
No, yeah, thank you so much for this talk. And yeah, hopefully like Lebanon keeps on embracing cryptocurrency despite the dark times. Hopefully not new dark times will come to us with everything that's going on around us. But yeah, Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure being on this podcast. It's a pleasure hanging out with you, David.
Right.
So yeah, thanks so much, and I very much enjoyed it. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, the pleasure is mine as well, and definitely, look to have you back in the future as well as you continue to grow in your career. And I really want to keep hearing about how Lebanon is embracing the tech. And of course, we're all praying for peace in the Middle East and hoping that things simmer down a little bit. It's kind of hectic, crazy times in that region right now. And so, just keep doing what you're doing and let me know how I can help. And I definitely encourage everyone to go check out Ginger Potter. You can follow him on Twitter, check out all of his collections across Foundation and Super Rare, and just stay in touch. We'll have all of the links for his art in our description of the podcast as well and under the YouTube video. So with that, thank you everyone for tuning in. Until next time, we will catch